Okay, we are live on the air. This is election results night, and we have Brian Pombo with us, and myself, Mike Jones. This is Inside News, by the way. Sorry about that. A lot of logistics happening right now. Dale Matthews is down at the recorder's office, just outside the recorder's office. Can you say hi to our viewers, Dale?
Yes, I can. I am here, as you said, waiting for the results from Trish Myers, the county clerk.
Okay, excellent. We are still getting a lot of inadvertent noise from that spot down there, and unfortunately,
right,
I don't understand why. Brian,
we'll turn off our microphone for right now, then, Mike.
Okay, and Brian Pombo is with me. Hello, Brian.
Hey there. Hi, Mike. Hi, Dale. Thanks for having me back on.
All right. Yes. Now we have, I mean, the race that we're all thinking about right now is the commissioner's race. Who are going to be the runoff finalists? At 8 o'clock after we hear the results here, and we'll also be waiting on some statewide and national results. Not national, but statewide results for primary returns. And Dale is going to be hearing any moment now from Trish Myers, going to be walking out the door. And as soon as that happens, we'll be hearing from Dale, although a little bit staticky, but we'll be hearing from him nonetheless, and we'll be getting right now live results from the recorder's office. And that should happen any time now. This is what happens when the results come down. Is that there's this anticipation that we're waiting for the results, and so it's scintillating, sitting there watching Dale outside the recorder's office and talking to people and waiting for Trish Meyer to come to the door. That usually happens right around 8 o'clock, 8:01. Something like that. And care to make any predictions as to what's going to happen here tonight, Brian?
I think for the local candidates, what we're going to end up seeing is a lot of the people with the name recognition, the people who are either in office or hold other offices, such as at city council level. A lot of them are going to get most of the votes. It's just the way that this election seems to have been playing out so far.
Yeah,
that's my prediction.
Yeah. Now the Courier made some predictions a few days ago, and it was Lily Morgan and Ronald A. Smith, and on the position 2 side, Keith Heck and Dan DeYoung. What do you think about that? You think it's going to come out like that or anywhere near that?
I think position 2 is going to be pretty close to that. I think for position 3, as far as Lily and Ronald, Lily's got a lot of name recognition, a lot of coverage with signs. Ron's got a lot of signs out there and had kind of a head start on a lot of people. Yeah. So it wouldn't be surprising to see him come up second or first in that case, but definitely one of the top 2. But it's so close. You have so many people who do not currently hold public office or haven't been around at least for a while in terms of the public eye. So that's the race that's really, I think, going to be an interesting one to watch.
So would you expect any over 51% results here tonight in the commissioner's race?
No.
And there's so many candidates, and it's hard to imagine that. But no.
Yeah, with this many candidates, and that's for those of you who aren't aware, in the commissioner's race, when you've got this many people running at the same time, you have to get 50. I think it's 50% plus one, right? I mean, you just have to be a little over 50%, and you can actually win it outright.
Yes.
But at this point of the game, more than likely that's not going to happen when you've got this many people running against each other in each race.
Yeah, it makes sense. Now, it's interesting because I guess I'm a little too close to this thing. I don't see Keith Heck as being somebody who is a popular figure amongst people. I mean, a lot of people know who he is, but I don't see him as being a popular figure, especially if you've attended any of the meetings and you've seen this guy's personality. I would be very surprised if he's in the running, but you know what? I have told people a number of occasions that I got hooked in because I voted for him in the last election, and I thought that was really cool, the heck yes thing. I wanted to vote heck yes on my ballot, and because I thought I was sticking it to the man at that point, and it turns out I wasn't. Anyway. So,
no, I think
yes,
I think that's a common thing. I think most people would. A lot of people who are paying attention can't imagine that Keith would get back in based on how he relates with people at the meetings. But most people don't watch the meetings, and most of the people voting tonight or voting during this period for this election, they haven't been paying attention. So they're going to go with the person that they either voted for 4 years ago, or the person that seems most familiar, the person they read about in the newspaper the most. They don't even remember why. They just go with the most familiar. And I think I would be extremely surprised if Keith was not the top vote getter in that race.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
You know what? And that's the case where I'm too close to it, and I'm not really seeing it the same way as people who the layman voter. Now. There are a number of candidates on the position 2 side that are kind of return candidates. We've seen them before. Tony Webb has run for office before, and she was a fairly strong candidate. She was one of the 4 finalists in the last election, and was beat out because she was running against Keith Heck last time. And I was a little bit surprised that this time she did run. But she somehow missed the deadline and didn't get her information into the voters pamphlet.
That's right.
That was a little bit odd. Do you think that alone is going to hurt her? I mean, do you think a lot of people depend on the voters pamphlet, or just generally if they look through there on their ballot and they say, oh yeah, I know that. Oh really? Yeah. And the fact that she was on the ballot 4 years ago, is that going to make a difference?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in general she has a lot of name recognition that she's built up, but because she's not in that voters ballot, the voters pamphlet, that hurts a lot. I would definitely think she'd be closer to being in the running this time around. I could be completely off, but my guess is that's going to hurt her a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course you have candidates like Mark Kelsey, who had he's the one who launched the Simon Hare recall that never went anywhere, and then he somehow said that he was going to withdraw from the commissioner's race and then never did, and so his name is still in there. I expect that that's going to get pretty low returns. You've got newcomers like Nathaniel Duarte. Now, there's a lot of money behind this campaign, and there is when the Courier poll went up, they flooded that poll, and they won that poll. Not that the Courier poll really means anything scientific. But this is a young kid. He's 19 or 20 years old, and do you expect that he is going to have a respectable finish here, or do you think enough people know who he is and how old he is? Is that going to count against him, you think?
I think for the people that know how old he is, had a chance to meet him, I think we're all going to be surprised how well he does, but I don't think it's going to be close enough to cut the mustard this time around. But anybody who's had a chance to meet them, they all say the same thing. They say, wow, what a sharp kid, what a great guy. He's very, very interesting, got a lot of energy and everything else going there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing they always say, but he's too young. Now, whether that's true or not,
right, exactly.
It doesn't matter because it's the perception, and it is the most common perception I've heard over and over about Nathaniel.
Right, and you know what? This is an odd thing because I think people. I'm not sure that Nathaniel, if were he in there right now, would be doing any worse than any of these candidates of these current sitting commissioners. I don't know that he'd be doing any worse than any of those guys because I like the stuff that comes out of his mouth. I mean, Brian and I are both conservatives, and he is fashioning himself in the Ronald Reagan sort of model, and you know, I like that from the kid, but it does come back. It always, the second thing is but he's 20 years old or whatever. Yep. So okay, and then of course a city favorite, Dan DeYoung, for position 2. Now I know, I mean, I speculated that when the Courier made its picks, that they were that they knew who they really wanted. That they really wanted Dan DeYoung and Lily Morgan to be in there, and so they picked people to run against them in the general who they thought they could beat. And no disrespect to Ronald Smith, but I don't think they want a conservative who's anti-levy. They never have been before. So it would shock me, and they would, probably if he was one of the finalists there, they would then turn their guns on Ron and and champion Lily, and I think that they believe that Keith is a weak candidate, or certainly the weaker of the two. One thing that everybody says, whether or not they agree with Dan DeYoung's policies, is this guy is a great guy. When you meet him, he's like, "Hey man, how you doing?" He could hate for guts, and he will. He's just so happy to see you.
Yep.
Yep.
He comes off very easygoing, very nice, very genuine. I had a chance to sit down with him one-on-one during this election and kind of roll things over with him, and that's I mean, it's the same thing. I could disagree with him on a number of issues, but you can't say he's not a nice guy, and you can't say he's not doing what he thinks is the best. And so that's Dan,
Right. Yeah, and you know what? One of these, and I'm surprised that we don't have the results by now. It's 8 minutes after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right.
While I'm talking here, Brian, if you would do a refresh on the Josephine County results page and see what you come up with.
Right now, we got some results coming in statewide, but I haven't seen whether we got it for Josephine County yet.
Yeah,
nothing yet. Yeah.
Okay. Now we have, and I don't know how many of these forums you've seen. I know that you were at least one or two of these. We had Sandy Casanelli has, was somebody that was in there before, and a controversial figure, and was recalled. Now, it's pretty clear to me that the staff, or one of the sitting commissioners at the time kind of headed up and was feeding information and support to Ed Bowers when he recalled Sandy Casanelli, and and there is some questions about the signature forms that they turned in as to whether or not those were legitimate or not, especially considering what was accepted and or rejected during the Cheryl Walker recall. What do you think? Do you think that being recalled the one time is going to hurt her quite a bit? I mean, there was a pretty substantial campaign by the Courier to take her out, and not really much of a counter campaign in her support. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, that's Sandy's been one of those figures that just won't go away. She's always showing up. I mean, it wasn't just this ballot. She's been on the ballot at least once or twice after her recall election. Not counting this election. So she keeps out there, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that will vote for her based solely on the fact that they recognize her name. And she still has a lot of loyal
one thing that I could, Absolutely. You know, the one thing that you can say about Sandy Casanelli is that she's at almost every single one of these weekly business session meetings, and so she knows what's going on with the county. There isn't any question about that. I tend to think that having been recalled, you know, sometimes I talk to people about Sandy Casanelli, and they say, yeah, that's Casanoli, and that was the label that they put on her. And, you know, so it's kind of hard, and it's usually coming from people who are really not all that knowledgeable on Josephine County politics. Joseph Rice, another controversial to some figure in the race. He is the Oath Keepers coordinator, and he ran the entire the mine. What's the Sugar Pine Mine protection operation last year, and he is controversial with some for that. Has some very big sign presence, no question about it. He and Bill Hunker have the big, you know, billboard-sized sign array down there at the corner of Parkway and M. What do you think his chances are of showing up in the top two?
Well, if you were going to base it solely on how much of a club of negativity is running against him, and if you consider that a positive, he would have actually a lot of momentum, because a lot of people say about the Trump campaign on the national level, one of the things that really pushes him is the fact that there are so many people against him, and so they're out there talking about him even when he's not talking about him, and as they say, all press is good press. And the same thing was happening with Joseph this time around. I actually heard more negative about Joseph than positive. I heard a lot more from the anti-Rice campaign than the pro-Rice campaign, but I was still hearing about him. So it caused, there was always thought patterns going on. I don't know if that'll help or hurt him when it comes down to the numbers, because he's a newcomer to the races, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, you know what? His detractors are all over Facebook, you know, posting stuff about him all the time. Now, listen, our own Dale Matthews, a controversial character, a number of, you know, he's had both good and bad press. I think a lot of people like Dale for what he's delivering to them in terms of news from the inside, and that will probably buy him some goodwill. But there's a lot of people in establishment areas and that don't like him, and there's people that don't like his delivery. So, and it sounds like we're going to be hearing from Dale here in a second. What do you think that's? Oh, I think we have. Let's go to Dale.
Yeah. Don't like my delivery. Yeah, 10 o'clock. Okay. Nice. Stand by, please. These are unofficial until.
Okay. I got my pen in hand. Come a little closer to the microphone there, Dale.
Jake will be here with another set at 10 o'clock.
You're welcome.
Just looking for the.
Really?
Yeah, well. Slightly more updated.
And then we ran into a little snag with the online posting those results. So our IT department is working on that, and our results will be posted online as soon as possible. And then, what was that? How long will it take? That'll probably take about an hour to go through signature verification, and then another hour to go through the boards, and then about 5 minutes to be scanned in. So it'll be right now hard. Okay. But yeah, the 10 of the box will be the next one. Thank you. Online is up and running.
Thanks, sir.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to let her back in.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I am.
So, do we have anything there, Dale?
Oh yeah, we got plenty of stuff here. As soon as I
Yeah, all the precinct committee person races are printed on that. That's why it's longer than
Right.
normal. So
Where
the first few pages. Sure. It's going to be on page 5.
Thank you, Commissioner candidates. Joseph Rice, 9.26%. Paul Walter, 5.21%. Tony Webb, 10.05%.
Okay, I didn't get the Joseph Rice. It was 9.6.
9.26%. Paul Walter,
Okay.
5.21%. Tony Webb, 10.05%. Sandy Casanelli, 7.90%. Nathaniel Duarte, 9.41%. Dan DeYoung, 19.39%. Mark Kelsey,
Wow.
1.90%. Harriet Harris, 9.45%. Keith Heck, 19.75%. Dale Matthews, 7.05%. Write-ins, 0.63%. So it looks like Sandy Casanelli and I split the
Wow.
vote. So Dan DeYoung and Keith Heck are the two to go through to the general election. Dan DeYoung and Keith Heck by a large margin for everybody else.
So Dan DeYoung and Keith Heck, that's the Courier nailed that one.
Right, now,
Okay, position 3.
I'll start from the top with position 3. Lily Morgan, 46.03%.
Wow.
Bill Hunker, very tight, 15.28%. And Ronald Smith, 15.14%. The difference between those two is...
Okay, say those two.
Bill Hunker, 15.28%. Ronald Smith, 15.14%. The difference between them is... here we
okay.
go. Just a second. Here we go slowly. For Bill Hunker, 3,284 votes. For Ron Smith, 3,255 votes. Very, very close.
Yeah, 3,255. Okay, so that makes it Lily Morgan and Bill Hunker.
Thank you very much. Shane Kristen got 9.26%. No, I said that wrong. My apologies. I looked in the wrong place. Adjusting my head wrong and talking at the same time. Shane Kristen, 2.08%. Raymond Smith, 5.74%.
Wow.
Ron Smith, 15.14%. Mark Seligman, 7.75%. Bill Hunker, 15.28%. David Martin, 3.93%. Lily Morgan, 46.03%. Bill Earl, 3.49%. Write-ins, 0.56%.
Okay, we certainly have that. Now, can you tell us anything about measures?
as I can. Find the measures on there.
I think we'll have a different mic set up next time.
Or at least headphones, yes. I can put them over the top of my head. So my wires and users popping out of my ears. So the answer is that it looks like it's very, very close between Ron Smith and okay.
Right. And
Yeah,
are they perhaps going to update those results with are they going to wait to call that one?
they're going to update them about 10 o'clock. And while in the past we have not had, I think she said the measures weren't available. In the past, there has been no change in the results as more votes came in. But you saw there at the very last moment that the results came in. I think it was from Wolf Creek. I think were the last people. Merlin were the last people to walk in. So there's a possibility that this being this close could change.
Yes. Hey, Dale. Could
Yes.
you do me a favor? And since you guys have the paperwork, can you move outside where the cell phone signal is greater, and we'll probably get a better audio from you, and you can tell us the results of the measures, 1769, 70, 71.
Measures. I think that she said that the measures were not in yet. But we will now move.
Oh.
Yeah, and we're just going to turn off the microphone while we move.
Okay. Okay, Brian.
Yeah.
So that's very, very interesting.
Very.
They got it right on the Keith Heck and Dan DeYoung. I am surprised about that Keith got that high of a percentage. I'm really surprised. They're within a few tenths of a percent of one another, and but the surprise really then is, well, I guess it isn't really a surprise. It's just different than what the Courier suggested it would be, in that Raymond Smith, I'm sorry, not Raymond Smith, but Ronald A. Smith and Bill Hunker are in a bit of a slug out when it comes to, it's 15.14 to 15 point. I think it's 15.5 something. So it's okay. There's Dale's outside now. Looks like a little bit better picture. Hopefully, there's some better audio from him, and it may well even be, although it is always bad outside on the street. There, you have street noise. It's the worst place to do interviews, but all the news stations do it. Right on 6th Street there. So Dale, can you hear me? Can we get a mic from you yet? He's giving me the high sign to hold on. I'm guessing that there is some holdup on the measures, and that would be 1769, the Rowe Community College General Obligation Bond for Training and Education. 17.70, annexation of properties to the City of Grants Pass. 17.71, 3-year local option levy for operations for the Three Rivers School District. Dale, we have Dale back now?
Yes, you have me back, and while we don't have the results from the measures, we do not yet have the results from the measures. They probably won't be in, as Trish said, probably till somewhere near 10 o'clock. I can repeat what the commissioner results are if you wish.
Sure, go ahead, and with special attention to the percentage differences there on Ronald A. Smith and Bill Hunker.
First, I have to put on the glasses that I don't need. Okay, so the top
yes,
vote
of course.
in Commissioner position 2 are Keith Heck at 19.75%. Keith Heck, 19.75, and Dan
Shocking.
DeYoung at
Amazing.
19.39%. And the difference in votes is 4,263 for Keith Heck versus 4,187 for Dan DeYoung. Those are the two top vote getters. The person in third place is Tony Webb at a little less than 8%. Wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. No, I take that back. The person in third place,
it was like 10.05.
Right, 9%, then followed by Tony Webb, then followed by Dale Matthews. Now, over on the commissioner position 3 race, here's the bigger surprise. Lily Morgan, 46.03%. She got 9,895 votes. Followed at a distant second place, Bill Hunker, virtually tied with Ronald Smith. Bill Hunker got 15.28. Ron Smith got 15.14. And Bill Hunker got 3,284 votes as of 8 o'clock today. And Ron Smith got 3,255. So the difference between them is a little less than 30 votes. So if you think that maybe your vote doesn't make any difference, that's a huge difference. And next closest person was at, well, this will make him very pleased. It's Mark Seligman at 7.75%. He won't be pleased by the fact he got under 8%, but he should be pleased, somewhat pleased, that he got 4th place.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is, you're seeing all the scaffolding behind the scenes. We're going to turn the camera off here. I'm going to jump on my little blue skate, and then I will jump on home, and then we will continue our scintillating conversation, gentlemen.
Okay.
Goodbye from the courthouse.
All right. Yes, goodbye, Dale. We'll see you soon. Okay. Well, that's really I'm really surprised, and 30 votes. I mean, that could change. That could change. That could change by 10 o'clock tonight, or that could change, in the next couple of days if they are doing any signature verifications.
Yeah. So that's 100% of the votes that have come in, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they still need to do signature verifications and so forth, challenges.
Right. If there's enough to make a difference, I don't know. With 30 votes, you would think that somebody might even want to recount on something like that. So
absolutely.
I suspect that that's probably what's going to happen there. Very, very interesting. Lily Morgan coming out of this, a very, very strong candidate. If it's going to be this is going to be a very tough job to eclipse that even by November, unless you've got some really fantastic platform that you're going to put forth that she can't compete with you on, or unless you have some pictures or something like that. You never know in the way they're doing this now. This has been maybe I just haven't been paying as much attention to these political campaigns, but there was a lot of dirt flying around during this one. Anyway, wow, that's really amazing, and a lot of the candidates who essentially phoned it in, they got a result commensurate with their effort. Of a very low percentage. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought Nathaniel Duarte would have turned in a little bit higher than that, but there's a lot of people who appear to be sort of in that ballpark.
That's right.
But the Courier nailed it there and really there's if in the Position 3 race, there's only 30 votes in between Ronald A. Smith at 15.14%. and Bill Hunker at 15.28%. If that's only 30 votes, then there really isn't that much between Dan DeYoung. I mean, it's 41.87 to 42.63. Not a whole lot of difference.
And you can't help but think. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead. This is the latency there. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can't help but think. You look at the dynamics of this campaign. There were so many interesting elements that were added in. One less candidate here or there could have tipped the balance there between Bill Hunker and Ronald Smith. Mm-hmm. And one specific candidate, I would almost guarantee would tip the balance, and that's Raymond Smith. Running on the same ballot, when you have someone with a very similar name, with the exact same last name, the same first initial running, you are guaranteed to confuse people. If Raymond Smith did not run, Ronald Smith would have won in this race. Not won the. It would have been enough to push him over. When you're talking 30 votes, give or take difference, that's all it takes.
I believe you're absolutely right on that. There isn't any question. I was shocked at the number of votes that he got because. He didn't. He wasn't that out there as a candidate. He didn't have signs out for the most part. He was a newcomer. His presentation was not always. He wasn't your typical candidate. He was sort of the everyman, and I think all of these things were going to be, difficult for him to overcome, and yet he got a pretty good return.
Yeah, well,
considering that, I mean, he.
I think, and I mean, there's no secret about it. I'm friends with Ron, and I think he was greatly underestimated, and it was a lot of to his benefit because he represents old school Oregon. He, born and raised, everything else. He has that going for him. He's ran for office many years ago. He had a lot of people that remember him there, a lot of people in the outskirts, out in Cave Junction and so forth, that still know him very well. He made his way to a lot of places that the other candidates didn't go, and spoke about larger issues that a lot of candidates would touch on, but they want to go into as depth as he does on the forest and so forth. So he hit a niche that the other candidates couldn't quite get, and he hit it early. He came out pretty early running.
Yeah, that was his platform going out, and I got to tell you, nobody has spent as much time talking about the forest issues as Ron did, and I'll tell you, it's clear to me that if anything is going to rescue our economy, use of our natural resources would be the thing. It's so we don't know. This could change overnight, and
that's right.
But you're right. You're right about that. It may well be that. Boy, I wonder if there's any. Well, I guess when you're coloring in a circle, people can't really misinterpret that as a vote for the other Smith candidate. Depending on, I don't think they were placed right next to one another on the ballot. Do you happen to remember?
I don't specifically know.
Yeah. Well, you're right. That is going to be something that I think that people are going to. I'm sure there's
one of those things most people wouldn't even remember which one they voted for. And if you told them there were two on there and they were planning on voting for one of them, a lot of people might be willing to say, I hope I voted for the right guy. I mean, that's most people who are voting don't spend that much time thinking about it. They don't spend that much time actually doing the voting. They get it done, they get it out the door and out of their hair. That's a vote by mail ballot system.
Right. Well, and so if one had to guess, I mean, and I don't think this is too much of a stretch, that we're probably going to end up with Lily Morgan and Dan DeYoung in the general, and so the people, though they may not have meant to do so, have moved towards the establishment. They have moved towards people who are interested in passing levies, so you can expect to see more levies coming down the pike. This is. I don't think that people voting, because I know that there's a lot of people out in the county that may have found some of these candidates attractive without knowing what they stand for, and the people that supported Lily Morgan and Dan DeYoung are both groups that have been interested in passing property tax increases in the past, and I expect that they're going to be expected to propose those sort of things going forward. Although both of them have said that they would not do that. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and you saw the dynamic, the difference between the campaigns, very similar to what you saw on a national scale. The difference between a campaign that's focused very specifically on issues versus campaigns that are very focused on personality. And you can't beat Dan DeYoung and Lily Morgan both have great personalities. Most people can't meet them and not like them somewhat. I mean, Lily Morgan's the most formidable candidate across the board. She is dynamic. She sucks the air out of the room when she comes in. She completely takes the scene. You can't stop her. She's an animal when it comes to that type of thing. And on local issues, people are always going to vote more personality, and now we're seeing it more on a national stage when you have someone who knows how to put their personality out there like Donald Trump. Then you got people voting for personality there too.
Right. Agreed. That's pretty good assessment there. And we have Dale Matthews. Looks like he's shown up back in the studio. He doesn't seem like he has his headphones on. Do you hear us yet here, Dale? No, we don't.
Yes, I do.
Don't see him moving around in there.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yes, and I'm taking off my tie.
Okay.
I don't need that here with you guys. Do you care? So this seems to have been a vote for the status quo. We want more of the same, whether it's more of city kind of politics or more of county kind of politics, and that's shown by Keith Eck doing as well as he did.
Well, I'll tell you what it is.
Amazing.
We always try and put a political spin on this. This has more to do with name recognition and personality than it has to do with any of the issues. Most people don't pay attention to everything that you guys pay attention to and put out there. Most of the voters in the primary are voting based solely on personality and name recognition. That's why I was able to predict pretty darn close the whole time who was going to make it through. So.
Well, with your permission, I'm going to contact or try to contact Bill Meyer at KMED. We're supposed to be on the air live with him in a moment, and you'll all hear some of the behind-the-scenes things, and that's just an extra added feature of some kind. I insist on calling it that.
Bonus, of course.
Yeah, so I'm going to call his call-in line now. He says that he is prepared to take our call, and we'll be on at the same time.
There are results showing up on the county level also that are coming through their website currently.
Oh, they said that might be a while, so that's good.
Okay, do you have... is there anything on the measures?
Let me see.
Okay, and I'm just going to ask you fellows to be quiet just for a moment. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And that is. And I'm going to try to call him. Well, I'll try that again. Go ahead and talk, and then I'll just interrupt you rudely if the time comes. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yes, I can. Are we changing the screen down there? Are you seeing me on your screen right now, there, Dale?
I am seeing you on my screen. Thank you for asking.
Okay, that's good. I was just wondering if it's switching properly. Brian, did you happen to go to the website? Any news on measures, or is it just still all on the commissioner races?
I believe so. What were the numbers on the measures here? And of course, my browser is giving me
the numbers are 1769 through 1772.
Okay, they're not answering. Sorry about that, gentlemen.
Okay. Yeah, they do have some results here. Let me pull it up. Sorry, they have this in PDF format. It's a little difficult to get
Oh my
around
gosh.
on. Here it is. Okay.
Did Connie Roach win her assessor seat?
One would think so, since she was running unopposed.
Yes. Well, you know, I mean,
But hey, you know.
the one I was wondering about.
So we've got question 1772 is 31.79% yes, 68.21% no. So that one's gone down. That's 1772.
Yeah, baby.
1771 is 31.77% yes, 68.23% no. That one has also gone down.
Taxes. No on taxes.
So for 1770,
No.
you have 72.74% yes and 27.2%, 27.26% no. So that one did pass. That's 1770. And for 1769, you have
that's annexation of properties.
Yeah. For 1769, you have 48.41% yes, 51.59% no. So that one just barely did not pass. That's 1769.
Let's see if we can get hold of Bill Hunker.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the
Okay.
theory.
This is either going to work really well or really badly. We'll see.
Yes.
Hello?
Hello, I'm hoping to speak with Bill.
Who is this, please?
Dale Matthews.
Dale Matthews, it's Doherty. I
Hello.
didn't recognize your voice.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, hang on just a moment. He's
Thank
driving. Hang on.
Well, pull over to the side there, Bill.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Yeah,
Bill.
just a moment and I will. So you're on live right now, huh?
No, you're on live.
All right.
Yes, we are.
Live.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Hi, Brian.
Yes. So,
Hi.
here are the, do you already know the results, sir?
I know the first result, which
Okay.
is 14/100ths in my favor.
Right. So you're going to need to wrestle up about 30 more votes, Bill.
About 30 more.
Yes.
Or,
So
no, actually, Ron would have to come up with the 30 more votes.
oh, it's my mistake. I'm sorry. It's the way that this is listed. It's my mistake. So Lily Morgan's 46%.
Right.
Bill, you are 15.28, and Ron Smith is 15.14. And the next
Yep.
person in line after all of you is Mark Seligman with a little less than 8%.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So Mark made
Amazing.
a marked improvement.
No, he wanted to get 8% or more.
Yes.
So he won't be happy. Sorry. Over in commissioners.
Eight or more. Okay.
That's right.
Oh, come on.
According to this, the commissioner position 1 is the number 1 vote getter was Keith Eck with 19.75, which is nowhere near Lily Morgan at 46%, and not that much more than you two fellows. And so that's then Dan DeYoung at 19.39%, and then everybody else. The next one after that's Tony Webb, and then I'm the next one. So people have voted, with the exception of you, as I can see, for someone more of the same. It depends on whether you believe that Ron Smith was going to go in and change everything. Certainly he was going to be involved with the idea of changing land use laws, and you talked a bit more on a broad spectrum of issues. Now we've got Brian Pumbo and Mike Jones waiting to ask you scintillating questions. Gentlemen, scintillate away.
So, Bill, if you are going to be facing off against Lily Morgan, who got a formidable 46.03%, how are you going to deal with that in the general? I mean, that's some ground to make up. This gal, obviously, now a lot of the percentages that were going to some of these other voters will naturally come to you, but some of that will also go to Lily. So, how are you gonna deal with making up the ground in between you guys?
Well, I think the main thing is I'm getting a real heavy feedback, guys.
Sorry. Hopefully it's positive feedback.
Better? Okay, is that gone?
We don't hear any feedback at all, but if you hear feedback, especially about getting reelected, we'd like to hear that.
I'd like some of that. I think the name recognition factor has been low for me compared with Lily, and to have another 5-6 months of name recognition and opportunity will tend to be one of the bigger things. I don't think it's been with my name recognition when I started, and I came in, just 3-4 months ago. I don't feel badly about how far our campaign has come so far. And so we'll stay on that same tack, and all the voters who didn't vote for Lily have got to go somewhere, because I think we'll even get a better turnout in November than we did for now. So it could be a close race, but I would feel optimistic.
Now, of course, with only about 30 votes in between yourself and Ron Smith, and them saying that they're going to update these results a little bit later tonight, they had some snafus. They weren't entirely done with stuff. It's a possibility that this race for the second place is not over.
Absolutely right. My first impression is it's too close to call. You don't get 14 100ths and relax.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Now, Bill, one of the people that you tied fairly closely with, we could see that at Parkway and M Street, was Joseph Rice. Now, Joseph Rice didn't get much more percentage than I did, and a number of other people who were also Rands. So, what do you make of that? You fellows were thought of by a lot of people as being a team, and now it doesn't look that way. Please put that in perspective for us if you can.
I think team is a little strong for a word. We wouldn't have called it that. What we had were two people who had very similar ideas about what the changes in government were needed, and therefore, over most others, I felt comfortable with that. The people have spoken, and we move on. There isn't nobody cries, and you know, when the people speak, that's what's got to happen, and we've got to find a way to work with that. Joseph's been an effective power both in the county, and I mean in outside of county politics in his own right, and I don't think that'll stop. I think he'll continue to help the county in any way he can, and that may be a very valuable thing in the future.
But who is the electorate? Bill, who is the electorate here? They're voting, somewhere near half of the people are voting for Lily Morgan, somewhere near. About half of the people voted against Lily Morgan or for somebody else. You were the next top vote getter after that. Well, there's a possibility that may shift a little. It hasn't in the past, but it may. What kind of electorate would choose Lily Morgan from the city council, and you, who have been at all these, you represent change, where to many people paying attention, that's not exactly the first word you think of about Lily Morgan. Who are these people?
They are the people. And much like Split Anything, Dale, you know that they work off the information they have and the things they've heard. And if those are accurate or not is still once they vote. And you know, on any issue, it's always a split vote. And I think that Lily did campaign very well and very hard, and she's a very likable person. So people vote for people they like, and it may not be issues only that they're voting for Lily.
So when you go into the future on this, do you, at this moment, you've thought about what you're going to do? Of course you have. We were pretty much, except for Keithak, we were pretty much right when we thought who the major candidates were going to be, and at least from whom the six, I predicted 6 different people from whom the 4 would be chosen. It's close, except for Keithak. That's a real surprise. Will you plan on hitting hard that she comes from the city council and that you don't represent that? That she comes from government and you don't? Is that your plan?
I think that particularly with Lily, when we know that she's been in government and she's going to continue to be in government, that we can look to her voting record and her how she has behaved in the past, because the best predictor of the future behavior is past behavior. And maybe there can be a little bit of allowance in her mind for the fact that she's moving from one group to another, but her general outlook and how she's behaved, I think, would follow through normally, like anyone would.
Sorry, I don't mean to dominate the. Well, sure, I mean to dominate the discussion, but not at the expense of everybody else. What we're seeing here is of the 4 top candidates, 3 of them are already in government. You're the only person that's not now in government. What do you make of that, Bill? That's the final question I have for you. Hey, maybe we can all say there's a rising tide that wants a change, and it's hard to move big groups of people. That's true in organizations and certainly in elections. So maybe people are looking for an outsider that they can put in and see if a shift can happen. Shall we let this fellow go for now, you fellows?
Yeah, do you have any questions for him there, Brian?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bill. Thanks for giving us part of your day.
Great. Good to talk to you. Glad you guys are covering this tonight. Terrific.
Okay. Goodbye. I think I have to disagree with him, fellas. It doesn't look to me as if the electorate, they're picking 3 out of 4 people already in government that they want change.
Well, yeah, and I don't know exactly what to attribute that to. You know, this can either be that you're right about that, or that people just didn't do any homework. You know, the view count on our videos for candidate events don't show a great amount of interest outside of your normal, you know, political junkies, which are, I guess, a small sliver of the population that we happen to live in. And so that may be the reasoning right there, that we're making choices based on personalities and name recognition, just like Brian pointed out here a little while ago.
Brian?
Yeah, I think that what you're seeing, most people, when you're talking to them, and if you guys go out on the street and you go and you talk to people, maybe put together an edited video, because you'd have to go through a lot of people to find people who actually voted in the primary. But when they voted in the primary, find out who they voted for in terms of commissioner and why. And I think you would be blown away by what people say. A lot of people I consider pretty attuned with politics and everything else. When it comes to county issues, they just don't pay attention. They don't know who the characters are. They go by the name. They go by little things they've heard here and there. And Bill Hunker, one, he has a great political name. And two, he had amazing signage everywhere and very good coverage on Facebook of him putting up signs. I mean, he was everywhere. And it's just, it's that hunker down. It's a very catchy, just like Heck Yes was for Keith. You've got a really catchy name, and I bet most of the people that voted for Bill Hunker couldn't tell you why they voted for Bill Hunker. But you had a huge amount of anti-establishment people running all at once. So a lot of people who would paint themselves as anti-establishment, I don't think the people who you may consider establishment would call themselves establishment, but they're definitely more for can't we all just get along, versus a whole lot of candidates saying, let's go in there and tear the whole thing up. And when you've got that, and they're all fighting against each other, and they split their votes, it really comes down to statistics in the end.
Well, before anybody thinks that we're just upset because the whole thing hasn't been turned over, Keith Heck was one of the 4 people chosen. Keith Heck. After all the things that he did and done, even after being found guilty by the state, there's still a substantial, and who do you think most of his voters are going to be? Well, lovers of the Courier, the unions, people who want to keep things exactly as they are, the folks who want to keep the gravy train running is one of the things I'm thinking.
Well, you're also going to have a whole lot of people, everyday people, whose pastor was promoting Heck or had him speak in church. Those are a lot of the people who voted for him the first time, and those are a lot of the people who are voting for him this time and will vote for him in the general. He still has a huge percentage of support within the church system here in town, and you can't throw that away.
I'm going to try to make another call here, guys. This isn't perfect system.
Okay.
We'll live. People did say they'd be available.
Ahoy.
Hello, you're on the air. So can you find Ron Smith and pull him over to the phone?
Okay. I am walking in at this moment.
Okay. We are now speaking with Vic Nakudian. Vic was running the camera at the courthouse, and he has shown up at Celebration headquarters for Ron Smith.
It was quite a packed scene, by the way, over at the courthouse. Various news media people there. And
Nefarious? Okay. I believe that.
Exactly.
Yeah, nefarious.
I'm walking in right now looking for Ron. Hello, Ron.
Ask him if he's available.
You're on.
Ask him if he's available, please.
You are live on the air on the GLMX show.
Live on the air. Am I?
If you will.
What do you want me to hear? Well, I'm a little upset at
Good
Raymond.
evening, Ron.
Yes. How many votes did
You
Raymond
are.
find?
Boy, it's a lot of noise over there.
What's that now?
Thank you for coming on with us live, Ron. We weren't sure that we were going to be.
Yes, a lot. Okay, go ahead and take it there, Dale.
So Ron, do you know what the results are at the moment?
No, I don't.
Okay, so here's the results for commissioner position number 3. Number 1, Lily Morgan, 46% of the vote. Ron, if she had gotten 5 more percent, she would have not had to run off at all. And then
That's amazing.
number 2 at the moment, number 2 is, I want to be sure I say this right, Bill Hunker got 15.28, but before you react, Ronald Smith got 15.14. There's a difference of less than 30 votes between the two of you. And
so
those,
that's too close to call.
Those are the top 2. And the next person after all of you is Mark Seligman with less than 8%. So again, for you, it's 46% for Lily Morgan. And we've just now talked with Bill Hunker. He's at 15.28%, and trailing by less than 30 votes, is you with 15.14. So it looks as if Lily Morgan is the person to beat. What do you think about that, sir?
I kind of knew that ahead of time.
Okay, but it's close to a blowout.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's a lot higher
not really.
percentage.
Yeah, so now.
Almost all the primaries and see if number 2 didn't beat number 1 a lot of times. Look at the vote between Sandy and Harry Mackin. Mackin killed her in the primary, but when it came to the generals, she killed him.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point.
Do you anticipate that you are going to make up the 30 votes by the time that all the votes are counted, so you will be number 2?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. They haven't counted the IV yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Haven't counted Merlin.
Go
ahead, Mike.
Well, yeah, I don't know what areas have been counted and what areas haven't been counted, but certainly 30 is something that can and perhaps will be updated. I know that they were talking about doing an update to these results about 10 o'clock tonight, which may show a totally different outcome between you and Bill Hunker.
Well, the vote for the IV, if they pull that drop box at 8 o'clock, it's just now hitting the courtroom, and it's starting to be counted right now.
And while we were there, the Merlin votes came in. Brian Pombo has a question for you there, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Hi, Brian.
So Bill Hunker was on earlier, and he was kind of giving some of his viewpoint of the whole race. What's kind of your view of what do you think's the main challenge here? That's the difference between you and Bill that may have made the difference between whether someone voted for you or him.
The difference between us two? I would think that I would be the guy that's been born here and raised here and knows our county better than most.
Okay, thank you for your input about this. Can you put Vic Nakudian back on the line, please?
He's right here for you.
Thank you.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Vic.
Thanks, Raymond.
You were standing there with the camera.
Ronald A. Smith, I called him Raymond. That's horrible.
Yeah.
See how easy?
You were standing there with the camera, and you heard the results called out. It seems as if most of the electorate has picked names that they recognize, and people who 3 out of 4 already in government. What's your take on that, Vic?
Yes, and these are people who have a record in government and are well known already to the people in the community who they've influenced and affected, with their government work. and so there's a lot of recognition there. You know, they're considered the mainstream, so clearly they're going to have that kind of recognition. You know, someone who's worked in government has already affected a lot of other people around them, and clearly they worked hard to do so in a positive way. So it's kind of a given that the insiders are going to have a leg up. That's just the way it is.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Vic. Thank you for operating the camera at the courthouse, and we're going to get back to our little bit of a conversation here. All right. Thank you.
All right, welcome all, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Vic.
Go ahead, gentlemen. I'll make the next phone call.
This is
Okay,
It
well,
really is interesting. Go ahead.
I just illustrated, obviously, the confusion factor between Raymond Smith and Ronald A. Smith, because I just called him Raymond at the end of that call, which is I will probably never hear the end of. So it's very interesting that and Ron is saying that it's entirely possible that since the IV votes just came in, that this is going to change dramatically in his favor. So I guess the only thing that we can really do is wait and see what's going to happen there.
I'm a little bit surprised that he's still saying, "Oh yes, definitely, it's going to happen." It's a bit like him having announcing his celebratory party. Okay, forward-leaning is a real nice thing. I don't know. We have not seen in the past a vote that was this close that I recall, but we also haven't seen any change in the past about the final rankings. They could get wider apart. We don't have votes coming in. They just were coming in as we were leaving from Merlin, and now they're going to just be coming in from IV. Ron's probably right that a lot of people in IV are going to vote for him, but I'm not convinced that he's going to edge Bill Hunker out very easily. But we don't know. It's already done. We just don't know what the results are. I'm going to make a call to Lily Morgan now.
Okay. Awesome.
I hope so.
Yeah.
She may be celebrating.
Mm-hmm. As would I be were I had I gotten 46% of the vote. That's
take your call at this time. Please leave.
She's not available. That shows you. I knew it right away.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Well,
she's already turned on you now that she's hit the big time.
I knew her when. Okay, so
that's right.
We will.
She used to take our calls.
Right. We'll continue trying to get hold of all of the main candidates, and now I'm going to start talking with some of the people that that are also cognizant of what's happening in the area, and they'll have a variety of different points of view.
Yeah. Now, listen, in fairness to anybody receiving a call from us that blows it off, this is coming from Dale's Google Voice number. It doesn't throw out a caller ID that is going to be recognizable to people by his name or whatever. So I could see some people rejecting it on that basis. So
that's a good point.
Well, I did tell them that we would be calling them, but I didn't warn them that they would be getting calls from strange people.
Yes.
Here's another phone call coming up.
Okay.
Mystery guest.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, is this Raymond Smith? This is Inside News, and Mike was just talking about you.
Oh, yeah, this is me. Hi, Dale.
Hello, sir. So, do you know what the results are?
Yes, I had sat down and have been watching a little bit of it.
Of our show. Well, that's excellent. So that you know, you got half of 1%. No, wait a minute. What was that? You got almost 6%.
Yeah.
So you got more than Bill Urtel, and you got more than David Martin, and almost as much as Mark Seligman. Oh, you got more than Shane Christen. So, well, you're working your way up there, little by little.
Yeah, that's right. Coming up in the political world.
That's right. So, what do you think with 3 out of 4 of the final candidates, we think the final candidates, coming from inside government, they're already in government, what's your take on that, especially with Keith Heck making it into the final 4, as they say in basketball? What's your take on that there?
Well, first, I'd like to congratulate all that makes it through. And I don't know that, had Cheryl Walker stayed in, it could have been all candidates like that. As far as Keith Heck, I think that the way I see people voting is if someone's in there, the incumbent, and they haven't had any direct harm to them that they know of, a lot of people will stick with what they know, and not rock the boat. So, that's what I see as far as an incumbent, not necessarily just Keith Heck, but any incumbent. So,
well, Raymond, I pushed hard for change, as did you, as did a couple of the other candidates. Not all of them did. And the electorate knew exactly what it was that we were standing for, and they decided to go, in my opinion, a bit more for comfort. Any thoughts?
You know what?
Yeah,
I would say that's a stretch, Dale.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I would say that's a stretch that the electorate knew exactly what you were about and whatever. I think Brian has this thing nailed, where we're talking about name recognition and essentially a popularity contest of personalities, because I don't think that, I think it's clear from the view counts that we got on some of these videos, and I think the percentage of the populace that is politically involved is probably less than 10%, and then the rest of the people are going on, who's got the nicest smile in their voter pamphlet picture.
I would slightly disagree with some of that. I think instead of name recognition, wherever signs are involved and put up, you're getting, if you're doing it by law, you're getting permission. So you're making contacts and you're talking to people, and that's where, I think that's where it actually comes in, is the contacts that you're making. And then, of course, they have neighbors and people look at the signage on their property. They know those people or whatever. But, at this kind of a race, when you've got 15 different candidate signs out there, the average person driving by is going to go, what is all of that? It's when you come down to the general election and you have 2 people running, I think the signage itself is going to make more impact than it does on a primary with this many people running. But I do think it boils down to contacts that you make. And personally, myself, I have not had, I'm not retired, and I am older, but I do have some smaller children that take up some of my time, in fact, quite a bit of my time. So I haven't had the opportunity to run around the county, introducing myself and that kind of thing. So
right.
I think that's more important than the signs itself at this point. I think it'll be more important in the general election when there's less people.
Thank you for talking with us. Thanks for taking part of your time out to do this. And we're going to go on to the next person that has some thoughts about it, okay?
All right. Okay. You guys take care.
All right.
Thanks, Raymond.
Bye.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Bye.
Mike?
Yes, sir. So I'm guessing that we're not going to get around to Bill Meyer here tonight or something.
I'm going to try him again. Probably not going to reach him, but I did tell him that we would try to call him earlier after 8 o'clock, but the results were not available earlier after 8 o'clock. So
yeah, that's too bad.
It wasn't
what
until
are you gonna do?
11 or 12 after the hour that the groundhog popped out of the hole. That's not a very nice.
We haven't seen that up to now. Yeah, that isn't a very nice. Just what sort of message you trying to send there, Dale?
That Tricia Myers reminds me of a groundhog? No, I'm not saying that. Okay, it just seemed like I was saying that. No. I will try Bill Meyer one more time here. Why don't you gentlemen blather?
Okay. Well, you got any input now? Both Ronald Smith and there was a couple people have mentioned that the confusion between Raymond Smith and Ronald A. Smith is the reason for the difference, and that we would probably have Ronald A. Smith clearly in the second position. And I guess I'll get your reflection on that after we find out if somebody answers this phone call.
It purports to be the call-in line for Bill Meyer, but I have a feeling that he's not going to answer it. They're probably done for the evening. Do you blame them?
Yeah, they probably are.
Oh my gosh, it's almost it's a little over 9:15, so he's not going to answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Now we'll get a higher tone of blathering here. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? You sort of expressed your opinion earlier.
Just going back to the numbers, specifically the numbers. Raymond Smith, who we just spoke to, got, according to the current numbers, 1,233 votes, which is 5.74% of that commissioner position. Ronald Smith got 3,255 votes, 15.14% of the whole thing. You're talking about an entire third of Ronald Smith's votes if you could say that all of those votes would have gone to Ronald, which you can't say that, but
yeah.
If there was any confusion in there whatsoever, just a few, you're going to at least get a few hundred that may have voted or would have voted for Ronald instead of Raymond. That confusion, you just can't fight that.
Hello, is this Harriet?
I understand.
No, that didn't happen. I'll try again. I saw Harriet Harris at the courthouse, and I thought that being a candidate, she may have something to say as well. It's possible.
Now, we clearly are not going to be making it through the entire list of candidates unless we're planning on staying here until well after midnight.
Well, they did say they were going to have another result at 10 o'clock, so I'll just run right back over there. And no, we're not going to run that late, but we'll see if we can get hold of Harriet.
Yes.
It's probably, she might be at Republican headquarters celebrating. I don't know. I don't know if they're celebrating. Hello, is this Harriet? Hello, Harriet. This is Dale Matthews. We're on Inside News. You're on live at the moment if you'll speak with us.
I would be delighted.
So you were there in the courthouse watching the results as they came out. Were you surprised?
I was not, no, I was not surprised.
We've been discussing the fact that 3 out of 4 of the candidates come from government already. What do you make of that?
Well, I did agree with Bill Ertl's observation that the Courier is very influential and does like to pick people that are, I wouldn't point so much to government, but as city folk, Grants Pass people. And so I think that's more indicative than the fact that they are government. But so I wasn't that surprised.
So what do you think is going to happen next? You were a candidate for this. Who's going to win?
Well, I think Lily Morgan's going to win for position 3. She had a great showing. And I really think it is going to be a contest between Dandy Young and Keith Heck. I think they share a lot of the same voter base, and I wouldn't like to put money on it. So for myself, I am going to be supporting Dandy Young, but I don't know who others will choose.
Well, it looks like we're going to have to leave her out of our voter poll for money. It was only $500 this time. So, okay, sorry that you won't be participating in that because the end result is well over $1 million if you get it.
Dale Matthews is a liar.
I will tell you that are you still there?
Yes, we're still here.
I enjoyed the process. I very much enjoyed meeting you and the other candidates. And I will be continuing to work for housing for the homeless. And I'm going to a summit for that tomorrow. And we'll be continuing to work for more housing in Josephine County.
Well, we're going to thank you for your time, hang up, and then talk about you behind your back.
Hey, I wouldn't expect anything else. Have a great evening.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Harriet.
Bye-bye.
You know, I find that personally refreshing that the next day I'll be at the weekly business session. Next day, Harriet Harris will be at a summit talking about the homeless. These are not people, she's not a person that would just say, oh, I lost, and so now I'm going to go, you know, into seclusion for 3 months. She's continuing to press forward. Good for her.
Yeah, you know what, and I have to admit I was surprised by her personality in this. She's a lot of energy, you know, just a happy person, a very likable person, just not well known, and perhaps you know, not hitting on the, you know, exact issues that you know, people are interested in. You know, of the issues in the county, I think homelessness is certainly a problem. I don't know if people would count that amongst the most pressing problems, and so, you know, maybe there's a disconnect there. But I got to tell you, I really like Harriet. She's a fun person. She surprised me.
Brian?
Absolutely, absolutely. If we took name recognition out of everything, and we took the power of the Courier out of everything in terms of putting forth name recognition over time, and just went on personality, because I would say that would be the second thing that most people vote for. Mm-hmm. Harriet would have been a lot higher on the list, I guarantee, just because she was so dynamically different from most people that run for office. It's just like Mike said, it's refreshing.
I don't personally think that the Courier, I think it's interesting that their prediction was so close to the reality of it. I don't believe that people followed the Courier because they think it's a extra special newspaper. I think that they ended up voting for some of the status quo. And it turns out the Courier feels that way too.
No, I'll tell you what, it's not that people are intentionally following the Courier. No one says, well, the newspaper said these guys, so I'm going to vote for them. You may have some people that say that, but I don't think that's most of them. Most people vote on name recognition. It's the person they've heard of the most, so they must be good. That's who they put down. And the Courier influences that.
Hello, is this the party to whom am I speaking?
Is it Dale Matthews?
Yes, it is. How you doing? So, Lori Johansson, you were instrumental on speaking up at the voters' forums. You had a lot to say about water testing. You know what the results are from tonight's vote, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so tell us.
I've been watching you over the internet.
Tell us what your opinion is about the way the vote turned out. Are you pleased, dismayed, looking forward to the future, ready to move to Canada? What are you doing?
I'm relieved that Joseph Rice did not win. I think people probably were voting in the direction of comfort because this is such a time of change. And people were looking for things that were familiar as a way of coping with all the changes going on in the world.
I believe that Brian Pombo has an important question to ask you. He just looks like he has one.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, Brian.
I don't have any important question to ask you right now.
Oh, that's what I really meant to say. Yes, okay. Yeah. Yes. You can tell by the way he looks, he has no important questions to ask. Yes,
There's nothing going on up here.
All right, yeah, up there, up on top of his head. Mike, any questions for Lori about what she just said there, bud?
Well, yeah, not really. I think that I'm a little dismayed at how things came out because I would rather have the change agents than the status quo from the city. But I think that the city is influential in these races, and the only thing that can change this now is if some of these votes coming out of the IV go for Ron instead of Bill Hunker. But still, you have in each of those, I think you have somebody that represents a change to the status quo, and then you have up against Lily Morgan. I really think that's going to be an uphill climb. I realize that a lot can change between now and the general election, but we're talking the difference between 15 and 46%.
Brother,
that represents a lot of support, and a lot of these outliers that aren't going to be there in the general are going to go to Lily, and so I don't know.
Weren't going to make it through to the general either, but they did. Liars. Just a joke. And Lori, without getting into specifics, what role do you think that your campaign against one of the candidates played in that candidate not making it through the primary process?
Well, it's hard to tell. There are a large number of people that were distrustful of Joseph Rice and stepped forward and brought their own information to bear and spread it around. So I don't think it was just a couple of people or even a small handful. I think there was a lot of people that knew various pieces of information. And one of the nice things about candidates running for office is that it creates a situation where people can find out the truth about people and find out what kind of people they're dealing with. Much of this would never come out if he had not run. Because a lot of people would not have thought to step forward with information. So yes. I'm glad that it worked out that way. Bill Hunker is sort of a partner of his, and I'm hoping Ron Smith
will be able to pull it through with the additional votes out of the Illinois Valley. The big surprise I thought tonight was that Josephine County went for Donald Trump to 73.62%. That was a real surprise to me.
Well, okay. Thank you for that refreshing perspective, Lori. And we're going to say good night to you.
Okay.
Night, Lori.
Good night.
Thanks. Well, I guess we're pretty close to the end of this whole deal here.
That's one way of putting it, yes.
Well, off of what Lori was saying, I'd like to compare that back to Lily Morgan, because the phenomena is the same there. When you have, and you'll see it when we get through to the general, I would guess, unless things change dynamically in terms of issues, in terms of something coming out against, some type of high negative coming out against Lily, Lily's numbers will grow, and they'll grow big if her negatives do not come out, because people vote for who they perceive the winner is. There's a huge push to vote for the winner. Look at how many people voted for Donald Trump. You've got 73.62%. And I believe that this is just in the Josephine County.
It is just in Josephine County.
That's in Josephine County. I don't have the. I'll have to refresh the page for the Oregon votes. But I'm sure it's a very high percentage voted for Donald Trump. Why would they need to vote for Donald Trump? Wouldn't there be a push to vote for other candidates just to send a message to Donald Trump? No, people vote for a winner. When the more a person wins, the more likely they are to vote for them. It's the absolute opposite of what most people think.
Look at the results for Bernie Sanders in Josephine County. Yeah. Bernie Sanders got a lot more votes than Hillary Clinton did. There's your outsider.
And I think if you want to make a case that a fix is in party politics, that's happening on the Democrat side, because Bernie wins, and he can't seem to get anything for his wins. And he obviously will not be the nominee, but Hillary is not popular, and you know what? I predict a lot of my friends would say that Hillary is going to beat Donald Trump. I do not think so. I predict that there's going to be a blowout, and I think it will be in favor of Donald Trump. And now people have watched this program. You know, I'm not a Trump fan, and some people like that about me, and some people really hate that about me. I'm sorry. It's who I am. And without going into detail, but I think that Brian is absolutely right. People do want to vote for a winner, and that is going to probably make so essentially Brian is predicting that there is going to be a blowout. Are you saying maybe like 60% or better in favor of Lily Morgan in the fall?
Unless they can bring up true negatives about Lily, which is what needs to happen. Like they go either find votes or speeches she gave while running or in the city council. If there is nothing of that sort out there, she has momentum. She has the most momentum. She has the personality, everything else. It's going to be very difficult to beat her.
Well, here's what could be our last question, gentlemen. With Lily Morgan with such a commanding lead, will she bring up Dan DeYoung with her because she likes Dan DeYoung and she has endorsed Dan DeYoung the last time that he ran for commissioner? Will we, because of her power, bring Dan DeYoung into a commissioner's role and we end up with 2 city council people as commissioners?
Wow. You know what? I have to say yes. I don't think if you're looking at Dan DeYoung and Keith Heck next to one another that you choose Keith Heck in that scenario. I wouldn't even choose Keith Heck given that choice. So, listen, Keith Heck he's no more conservative than Dan DeYoung is. He's no more a a non-levy supporter type of no new taxes person at all. I don't see that. I think that these two are two horns on the same goat, and essentially I'll take the likable person over the guy who I know is a jerk. So
well, Keith Heck, I'm sorry, Dan DeYoung has not been found guilty of breaking the law.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, but the difference is how many people know and care about that just don't.
Well, I
And if
blame
that
you
isn't
guys.
an issue.
I blame you because you run a talk group, and Mike purports to run half of a newscast every night, and if that information is not getting out to the voters, it's our fault.
Oh yeah, no, it's everybody's fault. I mean, there's lots to go around. There are not enough people that know these ideas. If Dan DeYoung ran a forceful campaign, which I don't think he will. His personality, he's not into that. I've discussed it with him. He's not into showing the faults of the other person, but it's necessary for him to win. If he does not do that, Keith Heck actually has more going for him being the incumbent than Dan DeYoung does. In the end, most people don't even know their personalities. Most people know the name. Keith Heck's got the heck yes signs. He's been around. He's trusted. He's in the churches. He's got a lot going for him. You can't write him off because most people don't watch how he interacts with the public.
Well,
if they did, you could see Dan DeYoung has a better personality.
Here's a secondary question just for Mike. Mike, we've all seen the videotape of what Keith Heck is like in reality. How insufferable is this guy going to be through to the end of the year?
If he wins in the my gosh. Yeah.
No, I don't mean if he wins. I don't mean if he wins. Just during the next 7 months, this guy is not going to be chastened. He's going to be emboldened.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's who this guy is. And if he wins re-election, it's going to be even worse, and he's probably going to end up the chair. And it won't be good. But listen, unless we can get the public more involved in the process, more knowledgeable about the process and the people involved in it, this is, I guess, what we can look forward to.
Well, with those encouraging words, we say good night from election headquarters here, and just remember where you heard it first, last, and always. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.